Just here's the first slide. We're going to go over flowchart design and use. Basically, what's a flowchart? It's simply a visual diagram that explains your process, your workflow in a step-by-step description. Your flowcharts are used in pretty much any kind of technical field. You'll even see them in office work. You'll see them in help desks. They're used a lot in help desks. Every time someone asks you a question, did you turn it on? Did you turn it off? Turn the monitor on and off? Those are all flowcharts. You can tailor them to be very, very, very simplistic. And then you can switch them to be super technical and go down to if pin 1 is active, do this. If pin 2 is active, do that. So you can build the flow chart to fit pretty much your need, whatever needs you have. Like I said, they're just a simple visual representation of a sequence. What's on the right side of the slide is just a simple morning routine broken out in a flow chart. And even each diagram or each image, I'll explain in the next slide or next 2 slides, but each one of these is just a simple step or process that you do when you walk up. You wake up, you get out of bed, you brush your teeth, you take a shower, you eat breakfast, you leave. That's just your normal task. This explains how to do that in a step-by-step fashion. So the components of a flowchart are really simple. There's usually about 5 or 6 that symbols that you use and a couple lines, and that's it. It's just an easy way to just describe your flow. As opposed to writing 15 pages of words, you can do a flowchart and do the same thing in a page. So basically, here's the 4 main pieces of images of a flowchart. So you have this stretched out oval thing. I don't remember what they call it. That just identifies the start and the stop of a system. So that'll be at the beginning and at the end of your flowchart or your subprocess or anything. Those are always at the top and the bottom. The rectangle is just identifying your process. So identifying that specific step. The diamond is a decision. So you'll have a line coming in. If yes, do this. If no, do that. And then finally, the 4th one with the rectangle with the lines inside of it, that denotes a subprocess. So a subprocess breaks off into its own flow chart. So you exit out of your main, you do your subprocess flow, and then you'll exit back in when your subprocess is complete. And so why are you doing the flow chart? How are you designing it? Basically, all it is to define why you're doing it and how you're doing it. That is what you want to do when you're developing your flow chart. Why am I doing these steps and how am I doing it? Before you go and start throwing all the images on the screen and stuff like that, take a piece of paper and identify each major task of your process. Once you have each major task, then that'll be a step in your flowchart. The next step after you've identified your tasks is you'll want to go in and put them in their logical order. You can't brush your teeth before you get out of bed. I mean, I guess you could, but you're going to get toothpaste all over the place or water. So you want to make sure everything flows in their logical order just on a piece of paper. Once everything flows logically in your head, then you'll want to start testing your design. So you'll want to sit there and say, okay, if I do A, then B, then C, that's what I want to do. And once you get those steps, then you'll start making your flow chart. And you're going to come back and do this all over again once your image is up too. Because you'll find that once you start building your flow chart, you're forgetting steps or you're doing steps out of turn. So you just want to walk through those steps when you're developing your flowchart. We at LSU use Visio. It is a pay program, and I know some schools don't have it. So this will just be a little quick step on how to use Visio to develop a flowchart. There are free versions of the software. There's a free one called DIA, D-I-A, that is pretty comparable to Visio and pretty simple to use. It's, I believe you can get it off of its SourceForge page. If we need, I can put a link in the comments or send it to you via email. Simple Visio flowchart, open it up, go to your blank template. Once you're on your template, you're going to load the flowchart stencils. Visio does a lot of things. They do have some snap-in flowcharts. It's just one of the many things that it does. You would load your stencil. I think with DIA, you do basically the same steps. You're going to load a stencil of just your flowchart shapes. Once you're there, it's a matter of dragging and dropping on the page. So you would grab that symbol, whichever symbol you want, whichever line you want, drag it, plop it down where you want to go. Then you could add text inside of it. Drag the next item, plop it down where you need it in your line, in your flow. And then when you need to connect them, you would just grab the connector tool, start at one and snap it right to the next step. And it'll actually draw a line with an arrow. And that dictates the path of your flow. And once there, then you can just drag around. I'll show you an example in a second, so you'll be able to see it. But once there, that is basically how you make your flowchart. Now with with Visio, when you want to export that to an image, snapping the Visio file directly into Word is annoying and can cause a lot of problems. So you'll just want to generate an image. Put it in an image format and then dumping that into Word is a lot easier. So with Visio, you need to put a bounding box around your design. So you'd make a rectangle, draw it around the whole contents of your flow, set it to the background, and then once that's there, that'll define the field of your Visio file, Visio flow. Then you just go to File, Save As, choose the appropriate image format that you want to export it to, and save. Once it pops up, it wants to use the custom default Windows format, which is a 72 pixel per inch layout, which is really terrible when you go to resize it. So you'll want to up that quality to at least 300 by 300 and set your quality to high or 100% depending. And once that's done, hit OK. It'll export your Visio file to an image, and you're good to import that into Word or whatever you're using. So sharing the screen. So here, this one is the Visio flowchart that I showed at the beginning of the slide. And as you'll see, you're starting the process. You're waking up. The next step is you get out of bed, and that's a full process. Then after you get out of bed, you brush your teeth. So that goes to a subroutine. So when you develop a subroutine, that's a whole different flow that explains just this specific process. And that would be in a separate flow, in a separate file, which is here. And so you would go through that whole sub process: brush teeth, grab toothbrush, open tube, put toothpaste on toothbrush, close tube. Then you would set a timer because you want to brush for like 2 minutes. So you'd set your timer, you'd start your timer, you'd scrub for 30 seconds, you'd check the timer. Is the timer greater than or less than 120? Nope. And so you'd loop back around and keep scrubbing. And so this is just a simple decision. Is this equal to this? Yes or no? If no, go back and start. If yes, you exit out of that loop and you continue going. Rinse mouth, and then you're in brush routine. So this ends the routine and then exits back into this flow. And then you'll do the next step. Do you stink? Yes. Did you take a shower? No. Then you keep going. You took a shower before you went to bed. And there's another loop that exits when you have an answer to your question. Are you hungry? Another question. If yes, eat breakfast, and that exits to a whole new subroutine. If no, then you're done and you're complete with this process. So that is the flow of your wake up routine flow chart. Does anyone have any questions?
So
It's a
Doug,
pretty simplistic flow chart, but
yeah. So Doug, how come the take a shower isn't a subroutine?
well, because I didn't do it, it should be. It also, see, that also depends on how simplistic or how detailed you want to be. Take a shower is a process. I mean, I don't necessarily detail out how each step going to the bathroom to do the toothbrush. So it's up to the designer to detail out what is needed in their flow and what could be covered by the process. However, if you're not specific enough, then you're missing a lot of steps. And when you're working with your computer components, you need to be specific, because otherwise you will skip steps and you will skip a vital software step that you don't think about unless you're very specific in your flowchart.
All right. Any other questions for Doug? This is your one and only chance. He's going to go bye-bye here in about 10 seconds.
Yeah, I have to go take care of a little shorty.